whiskey.
Hello, Chad's viewers. This video is sponsored by Smack Daddius. He bought a new camera equipment, and all this whiskey. Do a homie a solid and open parentheses. Insert smash like button equivalent here, close parentheses. And don't forget to subscribe for more epic content like this in the future. Now back to the video.
Alrighty, so today we're going to be reviewing a couple of whiskeys here, going to taste them and give them kind of a score and compare them against each other. And I'm no expert, I just happen to like whiskey. Here we have 7 whiskeys: a Scotch, corn whiskey, Tennessee whiskey, bourbon, Canadian whiskey, Japanese whiskey, and Irish whiskey. All different types. And the prices of all these whiskeys are going to be right above them. Pretty neat. So I'm also going to rate these at a scale of 1 to 10. And I'm going to rate them based on taste, smell, harshness, and flavor. And price will come into effect a little bit, but I'm also going to compare them to each other to see how they stack up, and I'm going to rank them all at the end. And the ranking I'm going to give them, like let's say I give it a 7 out of 10. That may change as I'm drinking other whiskeys. The final verdict is going to be at the end of the video, so stay tuned. So the way that this is going to go, I'm going to go from kind of the lower end and work my way up. And I'm going to start with this R&R. For an order a whiskey to be called a Canadian whiskey, it needs to be as follows. Mixture of potable alcoholic distillates obtains from a mash of cereal grains or cereal grain products. Needs to be aged in small wood for no less than 3 years. So this is the weirdest one. Possesses the aroma, taste, character generally attributed to Canadian whiskey, and that's kind of subjective, but it needs to be mass distilled and aged in Canada and contain no less than 40% alcohol per volume and may contain caramel and flavoring, blah 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 blah. So R&R was the first whiskey that I had when I turned 21, so I'm pretty familiar with it. It's pretty cheap. Alright. Definitely pretty smooth and pretty sweet. So the downability of R&R, it goes down pretty easy compared to I don't know, like Fireball. Anything's easier. But like a Canadian whiskey, it's a lot sweeter than probably a Scotch would be. I didn't really smell it all that much. I'll pour a little more in there, just to be fair to the rest of them. Let's pour a little more. But I did smell it while I was drinking it, and I smelled it plenty of times before. It's not too overpowering, but you do smell the alcohol in there, and you smell the sweetness. So if you're just starting out with whiskeys and you don't really like too much of an abrasive kind of taste, too much of a bite to it, and too harsh, then this is a pretty good way to go. And especially since it's so cheap, you can get the full handle for like 20 bucks. So for the price, pretty good. And you can obviously get better if you like the stronger bite, the bolder flavors. You probably won't like this, but it's a good starter whiskey, good sipping, and pretty good for mixing. move you aside. Now, next is Jim Beam. So Jim Beam, it's a Kentucky straight bourbon. This is 40% alcohol, and you've probably heard of it. It's a household name. And for a whiskey to be classified as a bourbon, you have to, by law, be made in America. It has to be made with at least 51% corn. Also, they're aged in new charred oak barrels. And what that means is you get an oak barrel, you char the inside of it, and it can't be used for anything else. Like, let's say you have a charred oak barrel that you were aging rum in or something. You cannot use that. It has to be a fresh barrel. So it has to be distilled at no more than 80% alcohol per volume. It also has to enter the barrel for aging at no more than 125 proof, which is 62.5% alcohol per volume. Alright, and bottle it at 80 proof or 40% or higher. So, what I'm going to do now, I am actually going to wash it out real quick, because I'm going to use separate glasses for these, but I don't have 7 glasses. So I'm going to wash this out so the taste won't be mixed up with that. Now, ooh, you hear that? Ooh. Yeah, that has a stronger smell to it. Yeah. Definitely doesn't smell as sweet. Has a more distinct smell. But still smells so sweet. Alright, I'm ready for this. Ooh. Okay. Okay. You can definitely taste the corn in that compared to the Canadian whiskey. It's still sweet, but it's like there's more bite to it, but it's still just as smooth, if that makes any sense. Pretty decently priced whiskey. A little more than R&R, but this is a pretty darn good bourbon. I think this is pretty solid. I'd give this a solid 6.5. Alright, just like the Jim Beam, I'm pretty certain y'all have heard of this. This is Jack Daniels, you know, the Tennessee whiskey. It's like bourbon, except in Tennessee, it needs to undergo the Lincoln County process, filtering the new made spirit through layers of charcoal before barreling. Yeah, cool. I've had Jack more than I've had Jim, but when I did have it, it was pretty good. I think it was a little more smoky, so let's give her a test. Ooh. That smells good. Again, sweet. That's what I'm getting for the smell. Yeah. Then the alcohol smell. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah. Definitely. More smoky. More smoky than the gym. Alright, so it's still pretty sweet, but there's an overall smokiness to it. That might be because, you know, they filter it through the charcoal. I don't know. I'm just a guy who likes whiskey. But I'd say it's got a little more bite to it. The smokiness does make it harder to go down. It's pretty darn good. So I would personally rate this more along the lines of maybe a 6. And that's just because the smokiness to me just kind of doesn't really do it for me. And that's a personal preference. And I know some of y'all would disagree. But honestly, for a lot of people, these two are interchangeable. Some people like their whiskey a little smokier, and I wouldn't really say it has more of a bite, but it's just less sweet, I would say. It's still sweet, just more smoky. I would rate the R&R Reserve, that is, as a 5. That is my baseline, just decent whiskey. It's easy to go down, tastes decent. And the rest of these probably are going to be above it, might be below it, but R&R 5. Jack Daniels is a 6 for me. Then the Jim Beam is a 6.5. Now, it is time to try the Japanese whiskey. Imagine if I fucking broke that. Alright, so a Japanese whiskey has to be distilled from a cereal grain, not rice, aged in barrels. Hot dog, you made Japanese whiskey. That's fucking it. There are no other regulations. It doesn't even have to be in Japan. So I did a little research. Hopefully, I could be wrong, that this one was distilled in Japan. So Japanese whiskeys, from what I've heard, they like to kind of mimic the ideals and the conditions of a Scotch whiskey. Let's pour our in. I really should have cleaned this out before I did that. I'll be right back. Yeah, it's definitely a lot lighter in color. Yeah, the charred oak barrels definitely give the bourbon their kind of reddish, more brown coloring. That smells fucking strong. It's only 40% alcohol. That's not a good sign. Oh no. Woo. Alright. Whew. Okay. Whew. Now, it may seem like I don't like that, but that's actually pretty fucking good. Whew. For a couple reasons. So this definitely tastes more like a Scotch. like I was saying earlier, it's got that, just the oaky flavor and not very sweet. It's, you can definitely taste the wood more. It is definitely harsher. It hits you a lot harder, but I actually prefer that in a Scotch. So in this Japanese whiskey, I was afraid that it would have that just oaky alcohol taste with water, with no body to it. And there are two different kind of Scotches to me, where it's really rich body, strong taste, and the not a bold flavor, just wood water. And this Japanese whiskey actually is pretty good. I wouldn't consider this an everyday drink, but I would consider it a little higher of a class. I would give this probably a 6.2 in between these two. New glass. And now we are going to the Balcones Baby Blue Corn Whiskey. So I am pretty familiar with Balcones. They're a whiskey brand that is in Waco, Texas. They make the grain all the way up to the bottle there. And they do a lot of different kinds of whiskeys. I'm a Texan. I like things from Texas. You probably already knew that. But I do like to support Texas companies. There are a lot of whiskeys that say, yeah, it's a Texas whiskey, but it's only bottled in Texas. I prefer whiskeys that are distilled in Texas. So this is a Baby Blue corn whiskey, 46% alcohol per volume. And let me whip up the facts about a corn whiskey real quick. Corn whiskey is whiskey produced at not exceeding 160 proof from a fermented mash or no less than 80% corn grain, and if stored in oak containers stored at no more than 120 proof in used or uncharred oak barrels, not subjugated in any manner to treatment with charred wood, and also includes mixtures of such whiskey. Cool. Ooh, got a cork, baby! Fucking love corks. Except for when they break. Ooh. I like some corn, and I like my whiskey. That smells like both. So, corn by itself, I'm not too much of a fan, but I like the products that come from corn, just like the Japanese whiskey. I've never had corn whiskey. Whenever you smell this, you think, yeah, it's whiskey, but you also think of corn with like butter on it. Just, that's a pretty distinct flavor, smell. The closest is definitely this bourbon, but kind of in between the Jim Beam and the R&R. Time to drink. Whew. Wow. 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 That's... Wow. Okay. That's a lot to take in. Whoa. Okay, so corn. You get corn in this one. Definitely corn. But, ooh. So, I don't really like coffee, but it's kind of got that coffee-ish taste to it. In a good way. I'm actually enjoying this a lot. I've had quite a few Balcones, and a lot of them are just too harsh for me. But I think this, I actually specifically got this one because I thought it would be not as strong. And I still want to try a lot more of theirs, but this is fucking good. Harshness, the flavor, it's there. It's there. It's like biting into a fresh tortilla. It's so fucking good. And then you have like coffee, like fresh roasted coffee grounds kind of in there. I guess that would be kind of a bitterish taste. Sweet vanilla, roasted vanilla bean. That's a 7. That's at least a 7. That's good. That's fucking good. All right, I thought it would be good. By God, it was good. So now, we're on to the little more expensive side. So I wanted to get an Irish whiskey, but I didn't want to get Jameson, and I didn't want to get the other one that everyone knows, because if y'all were looking for an Irish whiskey, you'd want to base it off of maybe Jameson, or base it off bourbons, corn, all of these. So I figured I'd get an expensive one. And that's not to say, like, if this is good, if this is bad, that doesn't mean that expensive Irish whiskeys are bad. That's just the way that this one was made and aged. And it's also my taste. So take everything you see here with a grain of salt, because you may not like it. And that's okay. "12 years ago, this motherfucker was put in a barrel." Oh shit. Ooh, fuck, that's a fucking cork. Oh, I can fucking smell it from up here. Jeez. Okay, before I forget. So, this is a single malt Irish whiskey that is aged 12 years. And it is 43% alcohol per volume. And let me look up the laws for you real quick. Irish whiskey is a protected European geographical indication. Under regulation number 110, 2008, as of the 29th of January of 2016, production, labeling, and marketing of Irish whiskey must be verified by the Irish Revenue Authorities as conforming with the Department of Agriculture's 2014 Technical File for Irish Whiskey. Alright. It must be distilled, matured on the island of Ireland, comprising the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, from a mash of malted cereals with or without whole grains and other cereals which have been fermented by the action of yeast, distilled at an alcoholic strength of less than 94.8% alcohol per volume. Jesus. in such a way that the distillate has an aroma and taste derived of the materials used, and only plain water caramel color is added to it, subject to the maturation of the final distillate for the least 3 years in wood caskets such as oak, not exceeding 700 liters or 185 U.S. gallons. Retain the color, aroma, and taste derived from process received above. Have minimum alcoholic by volume content of 40%. Cool. Very earthy. So it's kind of like the Japanese whiskey. I guess I'm comparing Japanese whiskey to Scotch. So it's kind of like a Scotch, but the smell is sweeter from what I'm gathering. Alright, sláinte! Ooh! Ooh! Really fucking good. Really fucking good. So, the harshness is there, but it's not that bad. I definitely think that the aging definitely helped mellow out the bite to it. It has definitely earthy tones and a little bit sweet. It's a lot sweeter than the Japanese whiskey. Nowhere as sweet as the corn whiskey. Honestly, I would give that an 8. That's an 8. The taste? It's pretty good. It has kind of more of a bite to it, but in the right way. It's not as harsh as this Japanese whiskey, but you still taste the earthy tones to it. It's very well-rounded, and I could drink this on the rocks. For our 7th and last but not least whiskey. We have Glenfiddich, 14 years. I have actually had a Glenfiddich 18 years before, and that shit, it tasted like, it was smooth like butter, just going down. But like I was saying earlier about Scotch, is you have two kinds. You have the bold flavor, and you have the water with some oak. And the water with some oak makes me puke. It, or at least close to it. I'm gonna take out my reading glasses. I'm gonna learn some things today. So Scotch whiskey has to be distilled at a distillery in Scotland from water and malted barley, to which only whole grains and other cereals may be added, all of which have been processed at the distillery into a mash, converted at that distillery to a fermentable substrate only by endogenous enzyme systems, and fermented by at the distillery only by the addition of yeast. Distilled at the alcohol strength by volume of less than 94.8%, so that the distillate has an aroma and taste derived from the raw materials used in and the method of its production. It has matured only in oak cask of a capacity not exceeding 700 liters and it has to be matured in Scotland. And that it's matured for a period of no less than 3 years, and it has matured only in an excise warehouse or a permitted place, and it retains a color, aroma, and taste derived from the raw materials used in the method of its production and maturation, to which no substance can be added, or to which no substance can be that has been added except water, plain caramel coloring, or water and plain caramel coloring, and has a minimum alcoholic strength by volume of 40%. Glasses off. Almost dropped them. Feel like I'm at a bar. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, okay. All right. I'm just smelling right now. It's kind of similar to the R&R in that it just kind of has its own aroma to it. You don't really smell the alcohol, at least not yet. I smell a little bit, but it's like all kind of blended together. Also, this is as well a single malt. Sączę. Ooh. Ooh. Holy shit. Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Holy shit, that's fucking good. Very earthy. You can taste the oak, but it's got a very bold flavor to it. Oh, yeah, that's fucking really good. Kind of a velvety kind of taste to it, if you can get that. Earthy, oaky, smooth. Not very sweet, but very nice. Oh, and it might be a little biased because I'm part Scotch, but I gotta put this above that Irish whiskey. Holy shit. I give this a 9. The harshness, not too bad, but it's just enough to where it's not overwhelming, but you enjoy it. And the boldness of the flavor is just what you want from a Scotch. Very good. It's a little, there's just a hint of sweetness in there that's just maybe vanilla, maybe just a little bit. And it's aged 14 years. Very good. Very good. For the price, honestly, not too bad. But if you're on a budget, definitely try some of these. This one, that one, or this one. Or maybe if you like Jack Daniels, then get Gentleman Jack. That one I think you would really like because it's more refined. It's pretty good for that price. But holy shit. Holy shit, that's good. So here's all the whiskeys from to wow. 5 for the R&R, a 6 for the Jack Daniels, a 6.2 for this Japanese whiskey, 6.5 for the Jim Beam, 7 for this Balcones corn whiskey, an 8 for this single malt 12-year Irish whiskey, and a 9 for this 14-year single malt Scotch whiskey. So yeah, that's my whiskey review. Got 7 whiskeys here, a hodgepodge, really, of a bunch of different kinds of whiskeys, and a big chunk of them I haven't really actually tried. And they're really good. I was really surprised. I thought some of them were just going to be not very good, but they had some pretty good bold flavors in there and decent bite, and just honestly put my original go-to to shame. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if you like the video, just leave a like and subscribe if you want more content like this. If you want more whiskey reviews, if you want more booze reviews, just let me know what you really want in the comments below, and I'll definitely react to all y'all's comments and I'll respond. Hope y'all have a great day. See y'all next time. Well, let's end this video on a high note. Ooh.